Imagine growing up amidst lush foliage only to see it turning into dust a few years later. This is the dire situation many people in Africa are currently facing as the Sahara Desert continues to expand at an alarming rate. Hello fellow nature lovers, welcome to our channel, Nature Unraveled. Ready to find out how Africa plans to save itself from turning barren? Now before we begin this dune ride, hit that like button and please subscribe to our channel. The Sahara is the world's largest hot desert, spreading across a whopping 3.3 million square miles and taking up almost 25% of Africa. While the natural phenomenon is a sight to behold, the rate at which it is spreading into fertile land has become a leading cause of concern for the world. The Atlantic Ocean borders the Sahara Desert in the west, the Atlas Mountains and the Mediterranean Sea in the north, and the Red Sea in the east. The southern end of the desert is surrounded by Sahel, a semi-arid region that lies between the desert and Africa's humid savannas. Deserts are characterized by low average annual rainfall, less than 4 inches of rain each year. The Sahara is known for shallow, seasonally inundated basins, rock-strewn plateaus, sand dunes, and steep mountains. According to a research by the National Science Foundation, funded scientists at the University of Maryland, the Sahara Desert has grown by almost 10% since 1920. In the study, researchers examined rainfall patterns across Africa since the 1920s and observed how changing conditions influence the areas around the boundaries of the Great Desert. Can you imagine what could have caused the unprecedented expansion? The study revealed that the spreading of the Sahara Desert was due to 2 major reasons. One was the natural climate cycle characterized by reduced rainfall, and the other was human-driven practices that aggravated climate change. Ming Kai, a program director who funded the research, said, quote, "The trends in Africa of hot summers getting hotter and rainy seasons drying out are linked with factors that include increasing greenhouse gases and aerosols in the atmosphere. These trends have a devastating effect on the lives of African people who depend on agriculture-based economies." Climate change and extreme weather conditions are major culprits of land degradation in the Sahara. Still, human-related factors such as overfarming and overgrazing have also played a crucial role in its overall expansion. Apart from making the land unsuitable for agriculture, land degradation poses a severe threat to food security and quality of life. The initial goal of the study was to observe seasonal cycles of temperature and rainfall across Africa using data from 1920 to 2013. However, their attention was soon caught by the diminishing precipitation in the Sahel. Desert boundaries contract and expand naturally over different seasons, but the substantial expansion of the Sahara within the 20th century is too drastic and too persistent to be ignored. A good indicator of the steady desertification that is occurring is the landmark Lake Chad, which has been engulfed by arid desert land for over 30 years. Can you imagine the effects of this desertification on the people of Africa who depend on Lake Chad for their livelihood? If we look at the 20 million beneficiaries of Lake Chad, almost all of them survive through agriculture, livestock, and fisheries. As the lake continues to disappear within the desert's arid sand, the livelihood of the entire region stands threatened with food insecurity and conflict. Like Lake Chad, Libya has also fallen prey to the growing desert. The region was primarily non-desert in 1920 but has lost most of its land to the Sahara as the desert expanded 500 kilometers into the area during the dry season. Mali, a landlocked country in West Africa, sits at the cusp of the Sahara Desert with 65% of its land being semi-desert or desert. Most Malians depend on agriculture to survive, and the economic activity is concentrated chiefly toward the Niger River. The country is already plagued with extreme poverty and conflict, hence the news of the Sahara growing 48 kilometers each year in the area puts the people under immense pressure, further feeding Mali's instability. Although the research results are related to the Sahara, its implications extend to other deserts in the world. Natalie Thomas, the study's author, raised critical questions about climate change and the world's role in countering its effects. Morally, how do we deal with the fact that developing countries are paying the price? This is an important issue as the nations responsible for exacerbating climate change often do not face the consequences. Instead, the poorer countries are set to bear the brunt of the impact. Since these financially strapped nations are already struggling to elevate their people from poverty, more than often, they need more resources and intent to tackle climatic issues efficiently. What do you think would be the best way to deal with this situation? As climate change continues to threaten every part of the world, the logical plan of action would be for stronger nations to join forces and combat its effects collectively. Considering the impending doom posed by Africa's rate of desertification, scientists are working hard to restore its land. 11 countries in the Sahara Desert – Djibouti, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Sudan, Chad, Niger, Nigeria, Mali, Burkina Faso, Mauritania, and Senegal came together for a massive initiative called the Great Green Wall. Basically, the idea was to create a wall of trees across Africa from Senegal to Djibouti, which would be 10 miles wide and 4,355 miles long. Since its inception, more countries have united in support of this initiative on both the northern and western sides of Africa. Once complete, the Green Wall will be the largest living structure on the planet, almost 3 times in size compared to the Great Barrier Reef. This project aimed to combat land degeneration and restore native plant life to the landscape. If successful, over 100 million hectares of degraded land will be restored by 2030. Hence, both national and regional leaders across Africa joined the much-needed cause. While the initiative was excellent, a project of this scale would be challenging for cash-strapped African countries. The Global Environment Facility, the GEF, has been a devoted supporter of the initiative since the beginning. It brought the attention of world leaders to the growing concern of desertification at the United Nations Convention in Bonn, Germany, in February of 2011. The World Bank and other organizations have provided the Great Green Wall Initiative with financial and technical support to help the African countries realize their land goals. Since the project was launched, around $3 billion have been raised, with 4 million hectares of land restored. However, considering the size of the total area to be reclaimed, it is estimated that the project will require another $30 billion. When this issue was raised in the One Planet Summit organized by France in 2021, international donors pledged $19 billion in support of the African-led reforestation effort. While the response was much appreciated, the funds weren't released in time. In fact, even a year later, the promised amount hasn't been dispersed. Do you think a massive initiative like this one could be sustained without international funding? It's highly unlikely. The reason these funds never came through is unknown, but we do know that time's running out, and if the pace of the project isn't picked up soon, the program will not be able to reach its goal. During the years of 2007 through 2019, only 4% of the target area was converted into the Green Wall. Considering that the project's completion is due in 2030, we're already halfway there with very little progress. In fact, all efforts are currently focused on just 15% of the total area, which hardly justifies the project scale. So what went wrong apart from an acute shortage of funds? You see, the parts of the Great Green Wall that were successfully restored could not yield the expected results. The program was designed around planting trees across a large area, but there was no guarantee that the planted foliage would survive or reverse the effect of desertification. Then there are the existing bad practices of overgrazing and overfarming that threaten the sustainability of the Green Wall. Clearly, something else was needed to tackle the dire situation in Africa. This is where Tony Rignado, an Australian agronomist, came to the rescue. You wouldn't believe the solution he came up with. Widely known as the forest maker, Tony discovered a way to counter the extreme deforestation and desertification of the Sahel region. He founded a technique that allowed trees to grow from existing root systems, which often remain undamaged. Rignado calls this an underground forest. According to his technique, selecting the right plants and pruning and protecting them in a particular way allows farmers to grow them into trees. His natural regeneration method successfully restored 50,000 square kilometers of land through 200 million trees in Niger alone. Renuado believes that when people are responsible for reducing forests to barren landscapes, you need the same people to restore them. This is why his reforestation technique is not just a method, but a farmer-led movement that is reclaiming and regreening land in the Sahel region and beyond. What Renuado achieved in Niger gave the Great Green Wall a fresh perspective and a new direction. It made the program's founders understand that planting trees along a belt just isn't enough to regenerate arid land. After all, it's easier and cheaper to sow a plant, but it takes much effort and resources to grow it to its full potential. Thanks for riding the dunes with us today. If you enjoyed more nature trips, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We promise the trail will be exciting and fun.